Good day and good evening, and welcome back to P8S Savage Mount Farm with me, Chaiji, but you can just call me Kai. Well, hopefully it'll be farm this time. 2 weeks ago, we progged this fight essentially, 0 clears, but we got close. I think we actually had, I can't remember if the best pull was 4% or 0.4%, but this time we have a lot of players that were there last time, and we also have some that are just like experienced with the fight. Just in general, either from this or like a different set. P8S is the one with the hammer. But that is the game plan. We will try to get mounts for everyone in the party as best we can, and once we have for everyone, if there's still time to spare, we'll just like cycle people in to try and grab extra mounts. That is essentially the game plan. That's what we're hoping for. With that said, hey Taldemar, hey Kvasari, hey Shaq, hey Rust, hey Murfolk, hey Ceros, hey Lana, hey Jen Monica, hey Ilya, hey Ham, hey Bokaj, and hey Clove. Hope you're doing well. No, that sucks, Clove. You even tried really hard last time. Now, one little detail before we get started on this is that our favorite elf bot, Aradil, actually, it's their birthday today, so I would like to sing a very, very short birthday song for them in Danish. But I do have the translation for you. On screen. So, are you ready? I dag det Aradils fødselsdag. Hurra, hurra, hurra. De sikkert sig en gave for, som de har ønsket sig. Og med dejlig chokolade og kager til. Happy birthday, Aradil. The song is a lot longer, so this is just like one verse. There's like a whole thing about coming home from school and all sorts of stuff, but this is like the very start of it, and it's a convenient point to stop, so we don't spend several minutes singing birthday song. Also, I don't remember most of it, so I'd have to like look it up. But yeah, it doesn't really work that well in English, as you can see. They certainly a present gets that they have wished for this year, with lovely chocolate. And also cake. Right. Guy speaks Danish. Also, hope you're doing well. Matthew. And Aradil, of course, and Lone Wolf, and Fopoof, and Copper Sulfate. Hope you're doing well. And thank you so much for celebrating 1.5 years as part of the Cult of the Pink, Matthew. And 13 months, Shaq. Thank you both so much. And thank you, Sip, for celebrating 1.5 years as well. I don't know how to heal, so you're going to have fun dying. I hope that isn't the case. Now, we should probably get to it, so we can maybe get some mounts. Hey, False Geek, hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships, Aradil. It's your birthday, though. Thank you so much. Nope, that is the normal version. Reverse birthday present. Ta-da! Right, we should go over positions, and if anyone needs something explained for their position, do make sure to say something in the party chat so that we know. Thank you so much for the 50 gifted memberships, Merfolk. That's crazy. Thank you so much. Nico, hope you're doing well. Same. Thank you, Jacob. Right. So I see Taldemar offered to be main tank. So my question is, do you want to do your pull timers yourself, or do you want me to do them? Also, wait a minute. Why is Sip the dance partner? I'm sure Sip does lots of damage. It's always so crazy when it goes through with all those memberships. It's just an avalanche. Hey, Björk. Hope you're doing well. Now let's see how much we remember of this.
Rest eternal in the dark depths of this prison.
Hey, Jojo. Hope you're doing well.
Sear flesh from bone. Leave naught but ash in your wake. Let seep sorrow into your heart.
I did not actually pay attention to whether it was pairs or spreads.
Behold the fruits of sacrifice.
Behold the fruits of sacrifice. How did I not die from that?
You are prey to be consumed.
Oh, I have to not even... it doesn't even count if I'm not looking. Fair enough. I think I was also supposed to be on that one over there, maybe? No, wait. I'm not sure. I can't actually remember the exact priority. Let me check my notes. Never mind.
Leave naught but ash in your wake.
Right, the baits. Aatrox and Noir, hope you're doing well. And Enox, hope you're doing well as well. This is actually a pretty decent first pull considering how it went last time.
I shall see my wish fulfilled. You will know my rage. Who's praying before a god?
Ow. Yeah, that was close, but I'm just saying last time we had cases where it took several pulls. I also forgot to eat food. I'm basically trolling over here. Yes, we have, Truck. At least once for every one of them. Yeah, also that, the provoke for the tank busters during the cast.
Rest eternal in the dark depths of this prison.
We did actually clear EX4 off stream because it was a little bit of a rush to get it done before the Savage tier came out. But the rest we did on stream.
Leave naught but ash in your wake. Out of my sight.
Oh right, that was spreads, right? Does Kai remember the indicator for it? That's also my bad, Talima. I should also have looked.
Behold the fruits of sacrifice.
Yeah, I'm being an idiot right now.
You are prey to be consumed.
The double death to something that I could have easily prevented by not being an idiot. We're missing a debuff, so there's at least one snake that cannot be dealt with, straight up. Ow. It's just one of those days.
Leave naught but ash in your wake.
I'm pretty sure that's pairs. Right, because we're in too few, I think I killed Taldemar there. Would have been better to just take them alone, that's my bad. I should not have jumped to Taldemar. Right, now that I've laid the groundwork of failing everything I possibly could, now it can't get any worse, right? Hey Tingle, hope you're doing well.
Shall see my wish fulfilled.
It's still possible to make it. You just need to survive the knockback here.
You will know my
And get him below 50%. Then he tends to... He might let you survive.
fools praying before a god.
Shag, you may want to use invuln when it makes sense. Oh, you already did. Oh, there it is. Hey Nebulous, hope you're doing well.
Godhood is
Now all you have to do is hit him and then it should be fine. Yeah, flawless.
vessel crumbled.
Perfect. This is like a 100 pass, basically.
Of my reward. If I must wretched world, I shall.
Fantastic. Phew.
Signa, how I long for our reunion.
I think this boss needs more eyes. You sure? Make sure to hit him.
Receive of me death and be honored.
Right, so a very quick recap, which was a mistake I made in explaining the strategy last time, which I think we should just get right this time. When a high concept comes, it's the long beta that goes to 2. And the long alpha and long gamma goes to the 1 and 3. Is that correct? Am I remembering it correctly this time? I believe the beta is a yellow debuff. That's the reason. Like, the debuff icon is yellow. That's the reason. And if we wanted it to be different, then we should have just put the 1 and 2 over there. Hey Silvus and Ruby, hope you're doing well. I believe that's what we did last time, Ruby, but that was very confusing. Does that add up for everyone? Long beta is on 2 because it's yellow. I assume the silence means that everyone's on that. And exactly, Lone Wolf, what ultimately matters is that everyone agrees. And originally I said something else because I was like, well, alpha is first, so that goes there, right? But no. Let's get this consistent. That's okay, Ruby. We're just trying to make sure we get it right, because that was something that tripped us up a few times, and we just need to make sure we agree before we start, so we don't get stuck in a strategy we don't entirely agree on. Shack is not ready. Right. So the auto attacks are pair tank busters, and the actual tank buster cast is one we have to split up. I'm also pretty sure the gamma icon is blue. I'm pretty sure that's the reason why they have red and blue markers there in the marker system we had, like we grabbed. They might look similar. Gamma's orange, really? That is cursed, yeah. I don't know why I did that. Right. Remember, if it's stack first, we go south. Straight south. And then we dodge in the direction that is safe from the cleaves. He's Orma. Hope you're doing well.
Receive obedience and be honored.
I should have not moved so soon. This is going to go sideways really fast, and I don't think we can recover in time. Maybe?
Rejoice
Oh yeah, I don't think we'll be able to get copper sulfate up in time. Nope. Do the positions as you need. Well, the positions as you need to anyway, just for the practice, I guess. When ice resolves, pair stacks centered on closest players. When fire resolves, furthest players get pairs. Ice is the 3 players per stack, and fire is 2 players, and there's 3 stacks. Well, 3 pairs.
Receive obedience and be honored.
Hey Seraph, hope you're doing well. Next thing will be high concept, I believe. Well, it'll be tank busters first, but
Rejoice and partake of my gift.
I think one of the people that went to Alpha went to the wrong place. You remember? When high concept happens, quick deep breath, look at your debuff, figure out what you need to do, and then go. If you start going somewhere too fast, you're not gonna make it. So you have to look at your debuff and then resolve immediately. But remember, icon, timer, go.
Receive obedience and be honored.
Pandemonium Ultimate. Even higher concept. Hey Midi, hope you're doing well. I think we'll have to review positions for Ice and Fire after this.
Rejoice and partake of my gift.
I think his will is absolute. But probably. Hope you're doing well. I can't really read your name. Eagle. Fair enough. Hey Bronto, hope you're doing well. Now, with that said, I would like us to review Fire and Ice for a moment. So, let's say that A is where the people for Ice are. Please position yourself for Ice where you need to be. Right. So one thing that I really quickly want to review, or at least my side, is the Pythagorean theorem. You can't be at an angle. So this is like this is you have to be in line. Because the way that it works is that so Ice targets the two closest players. So ultimately, actually, I believe the rule is that you have to, like, you can see this triangle that I'm in here. You can see this triangle. If you're standing like where I am approximately, you will not kill the people in the middle. But if you're closer than that, you might. Which is the reason why I'm standing here. But because it chooses the two closest players, it also means that it becomes very complicated with everything if people are not in line. Like by making it a line, we make it a 2D puzzle instead of a 3D puzzle. And that is true. With Ice, it's not as bad that people are standing next to each other. I should have done that better. But the important part is once again that if people start like just hanging out all over the place, it becomes a little confusing. Right, let me try again from the beginning so that I don't make it too confusing. With ice, what matters is that only one person is closest on each side. So exactly, this is correct. This seems correct. My bad about saying you can't be, that you have to be on the line. This, so you can see me, Aerodel, and Cat. I'm not sure about Shaq. Is Shaq supposed to go to this side? I guess if we have ranged in the or DPS in the box or in the natural alignment. Right. In that case, you would probably stand here and not where you're standing. Like, basically, well, you would probably stand in the pack, but it's a little confusing. The thing is, it doesn't matter who is the closest, it just has to be only one person. So basically, if it's ice, only one person is closest, and everyone else has to be behind. Doesn't really matter where behind, they just have to be behind. For fire, it's the two furthest players, which means one person is standing, like, here, like, up at the edge of this square. And everyone else in that packet, which would be one other person, is standing in front of them. And the key difference here is that with fire, it matters a lot more that you're standing in a straight line, because if I'm standing here, and then Cat is standing here, and then Aerodel is standing here, and then Shaq, like hypothetically, and Shaq is standing here, then, you know, as I said, Pythagorean theorem, it's possible that this is just as far as this. I can't do the math as easily just like off rip, but the idea is that by putting everyone in a straight line, the one that is furthest is the one on the corner here. But if you start hanging out all over the place, then you don't know. Then you don't know for certain anymore. This was something that got us a few times last time, which is why I'm like really focusing on it. Also, 18 Ali, and Domino, hope you're doing well. Does this make sense for everyone in the party? Anyone who, like, actually, better question, anyone who doesn't know and still has some questions about this. Teldemar says in the chat, in-game, I would suggest one inside the tile, one outside the tile. The reason why I don't recommend that is because this, so the B here is approximately as far away as here and here. Which means that if you have someone out here, then the person that is still inside the square could still be the third furthest away player. Even though the north-south players are as far away as they can possibly be. That's why last time we limited ourselves to say, be exactly in the square. And then the other person has to be in front of them. And that's also why it's important that you make a line and all that. So, stay inside the box, but as far out to the edge as you can with one person. The other person has to be in front. It doesn't really matter who, and the reason why we're not just designating players is because if we do, then they will be the natural alignment, and then no one knows what to do. Natural alignment is an amazingly cool mechanic. Said the mathematician.
Receive our death and be honored.
Fantastic. Right, the tank busters.
Rejoice and partake of my gift.
That was like, even though we almost had it, that was a lucky shot. Sip, what debuff did you have? Which stack did you have? Which stack did you have? You had the 2 stack. Okay. I believe you were missing in beta. So you're supposed to go over here. I'm glad to hear that, Noir Angel. Thank you so much. Don't worry, Sip. I was just making sure so that you're not like, I don't know, and then like it happens again and again. Let's review that. I can't remember what we agreed on last time with the second set of towers. I believe we agreed that the long timers themselves went to the south towers, and the helpers, as it were, would go to the north towers. And the logical explanation for that is that, so we have a south tower here and a south tower here, yeah? So actually, oh boy, I'm getting a little overwhelmed myself. Yes. Long timers combine south. The logical reasoning for that, just putting down these markers that are not alpha, beta, gamma, is that they will be guaranteed to be a lot further south. Or at least there's a much higher chance that it'll be further south, because the helpers, so the stackers and the leftover, will be closer to the center, so it'll always be closer for them to go north. Whereas the long timers will be out to the edge, so they'll have a further distance north, so it's better they go south. The only exception is alpha, which will have the longer way down there. The way we distributed the towers themselves in the pairs is usually that alpha, beta, gamma priority for north tower and gamma, beta, alpha for south tower. So out of these two towers down here, whoever came from further north, northeast, I guess, goes to the northernmost of the two towers, and the one that came from further southwest goes to the bottom of the tower, the southern tower. And the reason why that even matters is because there's so little time that you barely have time to think about it. You just have to go. And that's also true, Taldemar. If you just as you're combining, you're leaning a little bit towards the northern tower, that sort of indicates that you're going to go to that tower and things like that. You know, body language. Ow. What? Oh, I see the problem. I needed to be further forward. Aurelia and Dark Phoenix, hope you're doing well. Hello, Multi. Hope you're doing well. And thank you. Aradil, what marker did you have? What debuff did you have? 3. You were missing in beta. You're missing over here. Please zip zap. Hope you're doing well. Remember, the only time that you're suddenly free from duty in high concept is if your element was picked in the first wave. Then you're merging for something, you'd use that for a tower, and then you exit. You just leave out in the top left corner. For any other reason than you have a job. And arguably, the stack markers is the worst job because you are the ones that have to adjust to some degree. So just reiterating for that, if you had the 2 stack, like you were the source of the 2 stack, then when it comes to the second wave, you're either going to the 4 marker essentially, like in front of alpha, or over here in front of beta, or over there in front of gamma. And the order is that you will either take alpha or beta because of that priority, but you'll take whichever one is free. Like that is not taken by the leftover from the first wave. If you have the 3 stack, then you start from gamma and check either gamma or beta. Same deal, you take the free one. The leftover alpha, beta, gamma from the first wave will just go back in front of their marker. So like if beta wasn't needed, they'll be standing here. Preferably they go there quickly so that they can indicate that that's taken. But yeah, long story short, Dark Phoenix, it's difficult enough that this is the second stream we're trying to beat it once. Even though it's unsynced.
Receive holy death and be honored. My will is absolute. Rejoice and partake of my gift.
Remember, don't get close. Don't get close. Wait for the deconceptualize. Now kill the boss. Nice. Ham says, where was the tree? It was there last time. Hey, failsafe. Hope you're doing well. That's what we've been waiting for. Woo! Now we just need to keep doing it. What? Just everything drops. Because that's how it works. And yeah, back in the day where the chest piece was also from here. Just making sure. Tell them, you already have the mount, right? Right. We'll go in again, I just have to be right back. In the meantime, manatee restored. Alright, I'm back. And yes, that is my house failsafe. Thank you, Aerodel. Great. Let's see. Shaq said BRB. I'll start sending ready checks so that we know when everyone's back. I want one weapon cup on one mount, please. We're working our way down. Oh, Shaq is back. Yeah, we keep going. I'm just saying, this one goes out to everyone who's in the party, and if you are in the party for mount farm in the future, unless stated otherwise, if you're in my mount farm, like mount farming grind, you better need on the mount. I have legitimately once, years ago, had to like redo a boss because someone was so polite that they passed every time. Which meant they also passed when they were the only person who still needed it. Everyone in the party deserves the mount. So you just roll for it. There are cases where it's like someone got mega carried, like you may have seen in Party Find or whatever, and they will roll on it anyways. So for all the ones that got a mount they actually didn't deserve, make sure you need because you deserve it. Also that, Talima. Talima says, maybe this time I remember to look at the cast name and use the macro specifically dug up for this. We went into this fight, I saw this, and like on the first pull, and I immediately thought, I don't remember anything. If it's Party Finder, the rule is the player that was wiping you will win the mount. Yeah, exactly. So you might as well, if you didn't exactly wipe the group, you might as well need. And even if you did, you probably did better. So don't sell yourself short.
Rest eternal in the dark depths of this prison.
Pairs. It'll be pairs. It'll be pairs.
Sear flesh from bone. Leave naught but ash in your wake. Let seep sorrow into your heart. Behold the fruits of sacrifice. You will know my rage.
Lock spots.
Who praying before a god?
I felt a little lonely here. But I survived.
Leave naught but ash in your wake.
Ow. still survivable or still beatable. Just don't die. Said the guy that is dead. Really, has this gearing changed much? The big Kobe guide was before this raid tier, so a lot of players probably have gained a lot of item levels, at least. Just tactical nabbing, yes.
Of my reward.
But yeah, when people start to have best in slot for this raid tier, or maybe when people start to have like starter gear from the next raid tier, it might be possible. Like that might be a little too optimistic. But let's just say our group managed to hit high concept with like 25% on the boss. So it might be possible at some point in this expansion that high concept can straight up get skipped. Remember to hit the boss. What? I got a res, so for some reason I'm alive. What? I've never seen that happen. I didn't accept the res. I didn't manage to. And the game just decided that I took it. Thank you, cat. I didn't accept it. I was just suddenly alive. I am potting. I don't know if everyone else is, but I'm potting with the previous raid tiers gem drafts. They're reasonably affordable. And there was no requirement that people needed to use pots. I just decided that I would.
Receive obedience and be honored. My will is absolute.
Whew. Oh, that was painful. I should have avoided the tank. That is the saddest way to wipe. For those that didn't see it, it was straight up tank bust on all the non-tanks. It happens. I believe there was a tank that died during. Or something.
Receive obedience and be honored.
That's true, Tingle. I would also say that really goes to show how much he wants that. Like how much he wants to prove it. Is the fact that that if he just gets the thing that he wants to do right, he's just like, yes, fantastic. Oh no. A true scientist, one might say. I created the monster that will destroy me. How? Well, I'm a genius. Wait a minute. Exactly, Shackman. Exactly. Weird. I think we can recover from this if we get reses quickly. Ow!
Rejoice and partake of my gift.
Ow. Do we need to review anything, or did everyone... who was in the Gamma corner for the second wave? Yeah, something really super important to remember, everyone, and this is something that that's the reason why there's the tree memes, is that a lot of the time people will just look at, oh, we need thunder, and I'm right next to thunder, for instance, and will try their best, like chasing after the person who was just next to them with the exact same combination. But if you have the exact same 3 elements, it will always become a tree doing nothing. And that's the reason why you have to pair with specifically the other long debuff or the other leftover or stacker. Because if you have the exact same configuration, which means that you're both from the same corner, it will not work. Which is also the reason why we talked about this last time. When you're doing this, you're waiting for your date. If you have the long debuff, then you're meeting with your date between the 2 south towers. If you're the leftover or the stack marker, then your date is happening in the north tower, like near the north towers. You just go over there and wait for them. They should know to come meet you there. You don't go and mingle with people. You just go and wait for your date. You know they're coming, and if they're not coming, then we all die anyway. So, no need to make it more complicated than that. And yeah, the hardest part is with the stack markers, because you have 2 potential spots you need to go to. And you might not know before it's a little too late. Or you might know until it feels like it's a little too late, I should say. That's a little too dramatic, isn't it? Which is also the reason why every time we goof it up, I'm not saying, you big meanie pants, you goofed it up. I'm just trying to explain what went wrong. Because if you don't know where you're supposed to go, then you'll never get it right. Hey, my favorite guy. Hope you're doing well. That was amazing. Hey, Leandro. Hope you're doing well.
Rejoice and partake of my gift.
Don't get close. Don't get close. Let's do this. Kill a boss. Now you can get close if you want to. Nice. Two clears. Calls of Bahamut, are you doing? I'm assuming you're doing it unsynced. Oh. Fantastic. Nah, I'm not particularly interested in the Glams Tingle. I haven't checked, and I have a feeling that there might be others that are more interested in them, so I'll just pass to let others have a go. Cat, the ultimate leftover, didn't get used at all, and was had a color each time. Awesome, Alejandro. It's very nice when you can do it with a friend, especially because there's some parts of it where I believe it gets a little awkward if you're completely alone.
Rest eternal in the dark depths of this prison.
Spreads. It'll be spreads.
Sear flesh from bone. Leave naught but ash in your wake. Let sink sorrow into your heart.
Oh, wow.
Behold the fruits of sacrifice. You are prey to be consumed. Leave naught but ash in your wake.
He's really not interested in leaving, huh?
Godhood is within my grasp. I need only reach. Even
That
should
was
my
pretty
vessel
solid, all things considered.
I shall take hold of my reward.
Yeah, that's fair, Matthew. The one time I did coils unsynced was like back in Shadowbringers, where there were actually points where it might be a little difficult alone. Strangely.
union. Receive only death and be honored.
Rip pass we wiped. You know, I'm just saying, if you could do it in one go, there are certainly some jobs that would benefit from that. Like, I enter that phase with a bunch of polyglots, for instance. Ow. I should have taken a step back. Sorry, Talimar. Yeah, we're not surviving this. Just wipe. Just wipe. Jackman says his phase 2 looks like a Resident Evil final boss. I guess so. Yeah, sorry, I should have taken a step back. That would have resolved it on our side. But I was like, nope, I'm standing firm. Oh well. Boss Uno reverse carded your Blizzard. Blizzard? How about this? This is a Blizzard. Ow. Kaboom! It is incredible how suddenly everything can just go wrong. Even when things are going reasonably well. Just boom, one mistake. We might be able to resolve this, but someone is... Like, Talamar's going to need some help. And Shack Provoke. I don't know if that was fast enough, but let's hope. It was. I should have swift-casted that. It's going to be a little closer, he's a lot more HP. It might be a good idea to not be too stacked together, because the limitless devastation thing does AoEs on people. Ow. It's okay. I'll be the sacrificial small dragon. Rips a sacrificial small dragon. Shaq got the mount from what I could see. So there's at least 4 more people that need it in this party, I'm pretty sure. Yep. At least 4 more clears before we have to consider starting cycling people. Yeah, that's kind of the plan, Viek, I think. So that we have as many that know exactly what to do as possible.
Rest eternal in the dark depths of this prison.
That's P8S, right? P8S. P8S.
Leave naught but ash in your wake. Let sheep sorrow into your heart. Behold the fruits of sacrifice. You will know my rage.
Clock spots.
Who praying before a god? Leave naught but ash in your wake.
P8S? I think? I'm confused. It's okay though. I think we made it. We just need to survive. Until he gets bored. There you go.
Godhood is within my grasp. I need only reach. Even should my vessel crumble,
He become big.
hold of my reward.
Folks, as I did hear that Athena's supposed to be a Bayonetta reference, but when I see her I inevitably think Lusamine. I guess so? Polygloss stacks for the small dragon. Yep, I'll grab these and bring them straight to my grave. I'm keeping these.
How I long for our reunion.
Yoink. Yummy, yummy polyglots, crunch. Like gems. Do those snacks taste better than Volm cookies? Almost certainly.
receive obedience and be honored.
Whoa! I think that's the biggest one I've ever had. 263,000 with Flare Star. Wow! It is, of course, with echo buffs.
My will is absolute.
Sorry, I didn't get north fast enough, Copper. Ow. Oh, careful. Careful, people. Here comes a tank buster on someone.
Rejoice and partake of my gift.
Ow. Dark Knight looks like strawberry licorice. The crystal? Yeah, certainly there's a lot of licorice crystals, I think. Jojo's is a culinarian soul crystal. Well, unfortunately, those are just all specialist crystals for all the crafters. What would damage down taste like? Defeat, probably. Just straight up defeat. Well done.
shall partake of my gift.
Ow. What happened? What happened? Confusion. Wow. Copper. Wow, that is like that is incredible. That is probably the most broken I've ever seen something. 3 Pikachu. We actually had a clear in 12 minutes earlier.
Receive obedience and be honored.
Oh, 272,000. Another record was made for me with Flare Star.
My will is absolute.
Nice. Careful of the tanks. And tanks careful of the squishies.
Rejoice and partake of my gift.
Remember? Just a tip, because what happened there was, I think Zip and Aradil second-guessed each other. Remember, while you're pairing up, Like, will someone dance with me for a second? Just come over for a quick body language date with me, just real quick. Alana will help me. Let's say I'm from Alpha and Ilana is from Beta, and we're comparing. How do we pair up? We pair up a bit like this, because then I'm closer to the North Tower, right? I'm closer to the North Tower, and Ilana's closer to the South Tower. Shaq is a tower. That makes it a little complicated, because we're pairing between the towers. But basically, use your body language to indicate which tower you're taking, and you just go to that. As you probably realized, you don't have time to fix it for the other person, and if you try to, they will also try to fix it for you. So you're just going to... What's going to happen is what just happened. So while you're merging, like while you're combining, you're like leaning towards the tower that you want. And if you're having trouble because you're both like this, like trying to lean towards the north one, then you have a problem. And then you have to like refer to the list. Alpha, Beta, Gamma has prio on the northernmost tower. Gamma, Beta, Alpha has prio on the southernmost tower. So you just think about what you have and where you came from. And there's a reasonable chance that you could see your date come in from afar. And it isn't easy. We don't have, like, it's very quick that you have to get it right. That's why we need to be sure that we agree on the body language. Also, hey Ridlian, hope you're doing well. Bring flowers. Also, hey Gotham, hope you're doing well.
Receive our biggest and be honored.
Receive of me biffs and be honored. He just biffs you. Receive of me baps. Bap.
My will is absolute.
That was over on our side. You didn't screw up anything, Taldemar. We had two in the front on ice. Right. I don't think we necessarily had a system for that, Cat, but I guess that does make sense because the flexing player, whether it's a melee or a tank, will probably be like late to the party over on the right, so it probably makes sense to let them have the baiting spot because it's closer to the middle. But yeah, we haven't exactly, like, previously agreed on such a system. It's just, you know, again, body language. A lot about body language in this fight, huh? I was not far enough out. Hey Rob, get up. Hope you're doing well. Uh-oh. Misunderstanding. Yeah, this isn't going to work. I don't... Nope. Maybe? Maybe? Nope. I'm confused. I'm confused. I know it's lightning, but we can't make it. We're confused. Question. Ardell, were you... That's correct, Shaq. That's where the confusion is coming. Ardell, what was your marker initially? You were the 2 stack. Which one was the leftover from the first wave? So, yeah, it's difficult, Aradil, because there's a lot of people and you can't really see who's what without looking at their debuffs, and it's a little too much. I wasn't sure either, which is why I also second guessed. But one thing is for certain. If you're the 2 stack, then you never go to Gamma. Ever. Ever, ever. If you're the 2 stack, yours is either Alpha or Beta. Which means that if you're the 2 stack and you're coming towards Gamma, then the 3 stack is going to think that you're the leftover. And they will try, like, then I will try to, like, adjust. Because you know where you're going. But yeah, essentially, if you have the 2 stack, you look at Alpha, Beta, it'll never be Gamma. If you have the 3 stack, you look at Gamma, Beta, it'll never be Alpha, because the 2 stack will have that one first. Similarly, the 3 stack will have the Gamma first. Every time. But yeah, this is exactly the reason why the leftover has to, like, pretty briskly run over to their spot, because the 2 and the 3 stack can't be sure until they see that. And you also have to, you know, be steadfast and not move if someone else is coming at you. If you're the leftover, you need to know where you need to be so that you look confident, so that the 2 and the 3 stack knows, oh, okay, sorry, and they keep going. And yeah, that is true. While the first set is being resolved, you can look at which one, like which player is standing away, and you can at least see where they're going. But that might be difficult to notice. But that is actually a good tip, Cat. If you're the 2 stack, so like you have the specific stack marker, you go there and then you look at Alpha and see, is their elemental combination relevant? If not, then you're going to Beta. If yes, then you're going to Alpha. Similarly with Gamma, you go over to, similarly with the 3 stack, you run over to your 3 stack and you look at Gamma. If their elemental combination is relevant, then you're going to Gamma. Well, in front of Gamma. And if they are not relevant, then you're going to Beta. But But yeah, the problem is still that you don't have very long to think. And to your question, Rob Gero, I don't know. I don't know. I actually have no idea.
Receive obedience and be honored.
Hey Krampus, hope you're doing well. We have 3 mounts so far.
Rejoice and partake of my gift.
What? What happened? What actually happened there? Oh, someone touched. That is an annoying way to wipe. Yeah, basically remember, don't touch. Not only is the phase not over before Deconceptualize fully finishes, but the next mechanic also requires you to stay spread. So no high-fiving. Exactly, Jules. Everyone has cooties. Copper Sulfate said something about ringing at the door. So we're waiting for them to come back. Yeah, that also works, Salamite. Like if you stay still until the second set of towers is done, then that should be safe as well, probably. But yeah, the key is still spread out and stay spread out. Hey, Free Life, hope you're doing well. I guess, oh, in a way.
Receive our gift and be honored.
Hey Zelly, hope you're doing well.
Rejoice and partake of my gift.
Rejoice and partake of my gift. Remember, cooties, don't get close. Tanks. Auto attacks are happening. Nice. His gifts are pineapples. Behold, the fruits of sacrifice. Shaq said, said 1 sec. I'll be right back as well then. In the meantime, mana to restored. That's exactly right, Jules. Pineapples require self-sacrifice while eating them. They're basically eating you simultaneously. New cosmic project was hell? Which stage was it? It's a Mother's Day gift and Athena wants body horror. Oh boy. Rejoice and partake of my gift! Blech. I wonder if part of the reason why stage 8 would be hell is because, if I remember correctly, both stage 6 and 7 didn't have a fate. So they just happened automatically, so people might have, you know, relaxed a bit and gone, ah, well, maybe it's fine. And then it wasn't fine. It was, in fact, not fine. And it'll be more digging in 20 minutes. I guess it failed then? Oof. More digging. Hey Zyph, hope you're doing well. You're welcome to come over to Chaos. Basically the entire party are viewers. The problem is more that, like, I mean, we still need 3 mounts just to get the mounts for everyone in the party. So I don't actually know how many mounts we'll get, given the difficulty of this. Hey Kylan, hope you're doing well. Oh yeah, definitely, Viek. We'll see what we do.
rest eternal in the dark depths of this prison.
Spreads.
Sear flesh from bone. Leave naught but ash in your wake.
Whoops.
Let seep sorrow into your heart.
I skipped the despair. Now I'm the one in despair. For my damage. My dabblage.
Behold the fruits of sacrifice. You are prey to be
One of these snakes in the first wave will not be solvable. Uh-oh. That's my bad. I didn't see who else had it. I was supposed to be further north, I think. Yeah. I was supposed to take the north one.
leave naught but ash in your wake.
Sorry. Survive, and we got this.
Godhood is within my grasp. I need only reach. Even should my vessel crumble, I shall take hold of my reward.
Wink. Someone forgot to step out the snake. Well, the thing is, we had a dead person when the debuffs were given out, so we had a snake that was guaranteed to not resolve. And then I petrified the wrong one. So we, like, lost an additional one there. But we still made it.
Signa, how I long for our reunion. Receive obedience and be honored.
Cha-cha! We've still gotten pretty good at actually entering phase 2, I would say. Despite it being pretty jank a lot of the time, we still do it pretty successfully, consistently, somewhat.
Receive obedience and be honored.
Nice. But that is also true, Tingle. That is also true. Back to your normal positions? Sorry, that's the weirdest call out. But it seems to have worked.
Rejoice and partake of my gift.
Yeah, that doesn't work. That's my bad then. I was certain that that Gamma was not skipped, and I don't know why, but that's my mistake. But that is a good call out there, Lemma. If only I had seen it a little sooner. Four, Bokaj.
Receive obedience and be honored. Rejoice and partake of my gift.
Cooties, don't get close to anyone. Hey, hope you're doing well. Technically, most of those mechanics are reactive. It's just that the complexity of them requires that you have to nail it. Hey, Donko, hope you're doing well. And thank you. I mean, it's possible to skip Limitless Devastation. You can finish early enough that you don't really have to respect that mechanic if you do decently well in the earlier part. But you kinda still have to do high concept. But yeah, a large amount of boss mechanics in Savage are technically not memory things, it's just that they are so complicated that reacting is simply too hard.
Rest eternal in the dark depths of this prison.
Yes?
Sear flesh from bone. Leave naught but ash in your wake. Out of my sight.
Hey Ramses, hope you're doing well. Yeah, true, Donker. Endwalker hitboxes, am I right?
Behold the fruits of sacrifice.
It's huge! Knockback incoming.
You will know my rage.
Clock spots.
Who praying before a god?
Ow. I believe that's a different game.
Leave naught but ash in your
I believe that's a different game. Ugh.
shall see my wish fulfilled.
Remember to get out of melee range. He's going to swipe everyone with a big arm.
You are prey to be consumed.
Hey Nimuro, hope you're doing well. We just have to survive, by the way.
Godhood is within my grasp. I need only reach.
I'm glad to hear that, Ramses.
Even should my vessel crumble, I shall take hold of my reward.
But yeah, the major problem, is what you'll notice a lot of the time is that normal difficulty duties have a tendency to be a lot more chaotic and weird. Or more unpredictable. But they're also a lot less punishing. The reason why Savage and Extreme has a tendency to be a lot more predictable is because then they can be, the things are so punishing that they can't just go, well, it's fine if you get hit once. Nope. You have to nail it. So therefore the fight also has to be pretty reasonable and fair so that you have a chance of dealing with it consistently. But, like, you might say, well, Barbariccia Extreme is pretty chaotic, and it is. It is actually... It is reasonably difficult for an Extreme when done synced because of the chaos of the fight. But that is like... If every fight was like that, then it would just be the Barbariccia fight, right? So it's difficult. It's basically like, when you reach a certain difficulty, it's kind of unreasonable to assume that it can just be total chaos with reactiveness, because... Like, the reason the game is going so fast is because... And requires that you do it perfectly is because it's too hard otherwise. Or rather, it's too hard or too easy, and it's difficult to find a middle ground. I forgot to change the markers. This is going to be really, really tough. Do everyone remember the markers? But yeah, in conclusion, it's a little hard to make it totally reactive.
Rejoice and partake of my gift!
Oh, yeah. Oh. Then it's very simple. Then you don't do Savage and Extreme. Or you do them blind, with other people doing them blind. Then the homework is in the actual fight itself. And you have to prog for way longer, and so on and so forth.
Receive obedience and be honored.
Yeah, in certain bosses, Ramses, they'll give you a checkpoint, like this one. I don't know. You'll have to go further beyond, or find a group to do it blind with.
Rejoice and partake of my gift.
Is a quick check, for my sake. Which pair goes north? For the north pair. Right. In that case, I was confused. Thank you. I was the one that was late.
Receive obedience and be honored.
Can we fix this? Careful, tanks.
Rejoice and partake of my gift!
Careful with getting too close to each other, by the way. Stay spread, cooties. Ta-da! Wow, that looks crazy. Just on the icon, I'm like, whoa! Right. One more and we have everyone that is at least in the party. Imagine if the imagine if High Concept was running while the boss was targetable. Could you imagine the screams of the damned from the melee players? My damage! So your question, Rams, is originally the channel was actually named after my character.
Rest eternal in the dark depths of this prison.
Hey Johnny, hope you're doing well. Clearly the solution would be a bigger hitbox, bigger than this. Spreads.
Sear flesh from bone. Leave naught but ash in your wake. out of my sight! Behold the fruits of sacrifice!
Knockback incoming.
You will know my
Clock spots.
Who praying before a god? Leave naught but ash in your wake.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We still win, though.
Godhood is within my grasp. I need only
Agent Monica says, if your channel is named after your character, then how did you come up with the name for your character, if you don't mind me asking? Chaiji was my Pandaren monk in WoW. Bingo cards, everyone. And I also used that name for future characters. I also have a human Death Knight named Chaiji. I have a handful of characters actually named Chaiji in World of Warcraft. Caetsu was a name for a random druid character I made that never reached max level. And when I needed to make a character for Final Fantasy XIV and they asked for two names, initially I made a... What do you mean by that, Couples of Fate? Pandaren could be either side. In fact, my Pandaren monk had... Well, actually it was Alliance, but how would you know? Oh, human Death Knight, fair enough. Fair point. But I have swapped between factions a little bit here and there. Anyway, when the game asked me for two names for my first character was actually a cat boy. So I named him Chaiji Caetsu, of course. And then I discovered that small dragons are an option if you bought the game. Back then, it wasn't part of the free trial. So I bought the game, deleted the cat boy, and made this character, and swapped the names. And yeah, for those wondering, the druid was meant to be a feral druid. That's why it kind of sounds like cat. Because I'm incredibly creative. My will is absolute! Get away from the tanks.
Rejoice and partake of my gift!
I keep confusing myself. Stacks and leftover goes north. That's a reminder for myself. Because the long debuffs are more likely to be further south, so it's easy for them if they get the south towers.
Receive obedience and be honored! My will is absolute!
Oh boy. I actually thought I goofed it. I did. My position was wrong, but somehow no one died on my end for it. I don't know if we can resolve this in time, though. Tanks get away. Hey Baron, hope you're doing well.
Rejoice and partake of my gift!
Cooties, don't get near anyone. We're probably going to go somewhat into the next phase, so it's going to get a little scary. Only one person can answer that, Kadir. You jump into a Final Fantasy XIV streamer's channel and ask if the game is worth playing. What do you think I'm gonna say? We did it! We got 7 mounts. The thing is, Kadir, Final Fantasy XIV is very casual friendly. If you had fun with the A Realm Reborn part, it's more of that. Most people say that it gets better after A Realm Reborn. So if you thought that A Realm Reborn was right, then Heavensward is better, Stormblood is better, Shadowbringers better, Endwalker's better. Some might actually suggest that Stormblood and Dawntrail are worse, but I don't think anyone would suggest that Dawntrail even is worse than A Realm Reborn, the current experience you'll have. The game is good. If you think it's fun, great. Final Fantasy XIV is one of the more manageable MMOs to play if you have a full-time job. So if you think it's fun, that's good enough. You don't have to get into Savage and Extreme to enjoy the game. A lot of players don't even do Savage or Extreme. So your question, Ramses, says, I saw somewhere your max HP every level is randomized. Is that true? No. Every race has a specific stat line, as it were. Like a starting stat line. Every job has a specific stat line at every level. A lot of them are very similar. But it's not random. It's very, very predictable. What could make it feel random is more so the fact that what gear you have might differ. But it's so predictable that if you have 2 tanks with the exact same gear and race choice, the only reason that they would have a different amount of HP is either if one of them has a food buff, or if one of them is a warrior and the other is not. Because warriors, for some reason, have slightly more HP than other tanks. And like when I say slightly, I mean it's like 200 at max level. The amount of HP you have is entirely, exactly, fully deterministic. There is no random elements to that. In fact, Final Fantasy XIV is to a point where there isn't any decision you can make in the game that cannot be undone in some way or another. Aside from progression, of course. If you unlock something, you can't re-lock it. But, you can't, like, accidentally make the wrong decision and now your character's goofed and you can't fix it. It can always be fixed. Oh yeah, that's true. Starting city is actually the one thing that you cannot undo or change. But the starting city hardly matters. The point where starting city might matter is I believe you get a specific item that I don't think anyone uses, but is technically a cosmetic. In like a level 15 quest or something. And when you visit another data set, your character is placed at the Aetheryte Plaza of your quote-unquote home world, home city, and your home city is decided by which city you start in. But let me put it like this: you might be optimizing a little too hard if that's the thing that you're thinking about when you're making a character. Yeah, if I remember correctly, Silly, I think there was a point I can't remember if it was Shadow. I think it was, yeah, it was in Endwalker. I think it was a Reaper situation where if you were a specific race or something, it might not have been Reaper, it could have been Gunbreaker as well, specifically those two jobs I've seen it with, where if you were a specific race, there was an alternative best in slot combination or something that gave you, like, 1 more DPS. Not 1%, not 0.1%. 1 more DPS. Which I think is really funny that someone actually mathed that out and was like, oh, well, I mean, technically. The easiest way you can go about that, Katia, is just start over. Like with your hotbars, I mean. Oh, that's a good point, Cat. Your red mage auto attacks is a third. Actually, how much is that? 1 divided by 3.44. Like 0.29 DPS. Parents is mathing that out isn't actually that time consuming. No. But it's still really funny that someone bothered for 1 point in DPS. Okay, we got 7 mounts in 3 hours. It might be worth revisiting this, is what I'm feeling. What is Aura perfect for? That's complicated because the 2 Aura sub-races are better at different things. If I remember correctly, just off memory, I believe the Ryan, which is the one that I am, is like really good for healers, I think. Or quote-unquote really good. While Zayla is really good for strength jobs. Which is the black-scaled ones. I think there's something better than Zayla for strength, actually. But because of these stat priorities of, like, what you can choose, like, you would probably just choose whichever job that has, like, the most of your primary attribute and then vitality. If you're in that level of optimization. And yeah, also true, Tandemar said in game, Cat saved so many runs, it's unreal. Absolutely. We had a lot of, like, the reason I believe that it came down to Cat so many times is because every time that we, like, that someone goofed it, whoever it was, on the fire pairs, and it killed both healers, the reason we could resolve it was because Cat was still alive. And there were a lot of kills we got because Cat could res those. There was also a lot of cases where, like, there was just a lot of people that died and Cat could res everyone alongside the healers. I imagine this would have been a lot harder without a red mage. But yes, I imagine that we would have that we might want to revisit this. Get some more mounts. Also, it's an interesting fight. Now, the big question is whether I'll be able to convince a bunch of people to help with grabbing some mounts just for the fun of it. Exactly, Perrin. Race stats get less relevant as we get more expansions, but they were relevant in the past. There was also the part that, way back in time, I don't know if they got rid of it in Stormblood, or if it was already in Heaven's Ward. But there was a point where, when you leveled up, you could pick some stats. So, like, you could choose to go, I want more vitality. I believe you could for a cost, you could reset that, so you could change it. But that did, in fact, mean that, like, for instance, you could, like, be like, well, I play both warrior and white mage, and I have, like, an offset for it, but are your stats optimized for warrior or white mage? Like, a little bit like how, for instance, in WoW, way back when, you'd have to basically... well, like, oh, you're a class that could play both tank and healer, or tank and DPS, or all three, for that matter. But you'd have to pay every time you wanted to switch. Wasn't that by class? Oh, true, it was by class. Right. Which means that it was only a problem for Arcanist. Kadir Samurai has 3 of them. You might find my Samurai guide helpful. It starts with setting, with the Samurai rotation at level 50, and it gradually introduces actions. So if you just follow that... But that is still funny, that they basically just screwed over Summon on Scholar. Krampus says I'd love to join sometime, but I've never done a Savage since it's my time being at current content. To participate in an unsynced mount farm like this, you don't necessarily have to have Savage experience. In fact, some of the people that join for this are absolutely not Savage Raiders at all. Some of them, at least. It has been, it's probably a bit of a step up if you've never done, like, extremes, either. But that's also the reason why, like, we actually, if you go back through the live streams section of the channel, you'll see that, like, when we started on Endwalker mount farms, we started with the easier extremes and then, like, moved up through. We had a Savage in between because that one actually turned out to be easy. And then we worked our way up through all the extremes, and then now we're here because we actually got all of the extreme mounts, and now, like, we're almost at the finish line, as it were. So it might be a big step up, but what you can do if you want to participate in this, and I did say this on the schedule as well for this stream, is that we use the Big Kobe guide for this fight, and that's a specific channel on YouTube that made a guide for this particular fight. So that might be helpful, so that you know what to expect. VX says you can practice this fight solo to a degree, which is what I'm doing right now. Like phase 1? Phase 2 looks easier? Well, in a way, and then again not. Ross says, does old extremes synced count, as it was the only extreme of Savage synced for me? Right. I mean, it depends. Like, let's just say that if you've... I would probably say that some of the A Realm Reborn extremes might actually be easier than something like Golbez Extreme Unsynced, which is might be a little bit of a jump, but it's like some of those old extremes you can just wing it and it kind of works out, whereas Golbez has a mechanic where you will straight up wipe even Unsynced. That kind of stuff. Telemas is not that most Unsynced content needs a guide, but Endwalker Savages might just be difficult enough. Yeah, exactly. If I recall correctly, we just kind of winged it for all of these fights except the last two. We did have like one mechanic that like stood out that would like take note of this for some of them, but specifically the last two, we needed to take note of one or two mechanics that we needed, like kind of needed a guide for. The start of phase 1 before Hephaestus just kills? Doesn't he kill you with a tank boss, Doviek? Or is that one, can you just invuln that one? But yeah, when it is an unsynced farm, usually there's only like a handful of mechanics you need to worry about. If even a handful makes it. Like for instance, the reason why phase 2 of P8S, which was what we did today, looked easier is probably because the fight starts, you have the spread and stacks, and then you have the ice and fire, and then you have high concept. And then the fight is basically over. In phase 1, you have these spread and stacks, or spread and pairs, combined with the the drawing in volcanic torch line AoEs, and then you have a tank buster, and well, that one is not particularly necessarily hard. Then you have a mechanic where it basically splits, where it's either the snakes or the stomps. And some people actually just I've heard that some party finder groups just wipe it if you get the snakes, because it's easier to just try again until you get the stomps. We don't do that, and we've kind of zombied through anyway. I think one time we nailed it. Maybe. And then there's a bunch of other AoEs, there's a lot of chaos happening all at once, and if you survive all that, you might, and you still haven't finished yet, so it's phase changes, you have to deal with the other transformation. Again, Snake 1 might be lethal for some groups. Some groups. So I could see how phase 1 would seem harder. I think it makes sense to go one more time for this. At least one more time. The thing that I'm more worried about with going one more time is that I'm wondering if... if next time we will be able to round up, you know, a bunch of people that need a mount, but also enough people that know the fight so that we can be sure we actually get some mounts. But yeah, 7 mounts in 3 hours is a pretty huge upgrade when I believe last time... Did we go for 4.5 hours or something? And had 0 mounts to show for it. Just to kind of put into perspective that... Like, just consider that most of the people in the party either already had a clear or were in the party last time. And that's the reason why we suddenly managed. Why we suddenly can now, because like most of the raid had like 3+ hours of practice first. And we still wiped sometimes. But yeah, I think we'll revisit P8S one more time before we go on to P12S. No rush. Once we've done P12S, I don't even know where we're going next. DSR is next. Maybe some reclears? Maybe? The problem there is that it's going to be really confusing to actually fix that. Also figure that out, because you might be like, okay, so how many needs Endwalker EX1? And then there's like one hand, and you go and do that, and then you're like, okay, how many needs EX2? And like do that. Did you do Dawntrail wing farms? Technically, yes and no. Yes, I've done 100 clears, or 99 at least, of both EX1 and EX2. No, the vast majority of them were not on stream. EX3 and EX4 I have not. And this is also a problem that we ran into before, is that, and this is exactly the reason why I'm just reiterating, we actually covered this at the start of the stream. Usually for these kind of farms, I'll like grab the first people that arrive pretty much, and that's okay, and then we'll make a group and it'll work. But in this stream, I specifically picked the ones that I knew had experience with the fight and still needed the mount or had experience with the fight and knew what to do. And Cat. Cat is really good. So I was pretty confident that Cat could do it. That's not to say, like, Rust was among the ones that were at the ready, and I picked Cat instead. I believe Rust maybe was a little bit less confident. But that doesn't mean Rust will not get a mount. We'll try and get everyone a mount next time. And that was not to single you out, Rust. It was just, you were actually there at the start. And I said, I'm gonna take someone else who I am more confident in. Because it needed to be... But to that point, normally... I try to bring everyone, right? We want everyone to get a mount. But if we get to something like EX3 of Dawntrail, it starts to get so hard that I might actually not be able to just bring people. Like, I might have to go, okay, who's strong enough? You guys, sorry. I don't know, go to the gym or something, whatever. Which is not fun. I like these kinds of streams where we're like just doing stuff with the chat, you could say, that optimally we can bring everyone. Which is also the reason why the game plan was we grab the ones that are the strongest, we figure out the fight well enough that we can, you know, essentially cover over if someone doesn't know, so that we can get more mounts after that. How many chairs can you carry? That depends on how much they weigh. But if it was EX3, then I don't think we can, like, then I would have to be pick and choosy, and the same would be the case with EX4. So I don't know if we would do that. could be doable before ice once the next Lance Raid lands, possibly. Maybe, Shaq. Also, here again, Zoma. Hope you're doing well. That could be possible, Shaq. Part of the problem is that I believe it was already nearly possible to skip ice bridges in the previous raid tier, so it would probably be possible eventually in this raid tier. But I don't think you would be able to skip ice bridges with just anyone, as it were. Like, if that makes any sense. Like, it will become a DPS race that you need to nail. But yeah, Dawntrail Extreme 1 or 2 could do. But the thing is, I might also just do something else with those streams. Do something else. Like, who knows? Maybe we'll go back and do some Extreme Countdown again. I don't know. But for now, we're doing P8S. And then P12S. But yeah, the key being that I want to be able to include everyone. Hey La Brea, hope you're doing well. You actually caught it right at the end. We managed to beat him up 7 times. And yeah, Extreme Countdown was also something where basically made that same I ran into that same kind of problem, question mark, was that in A Realm Reborn Extremes, it was pretty manageable that when you were 8, just knowing the strategy was good enough. Then as the count went down, the players that were having trouble could just, you know, step out, and then it was fine. When we got to Heavensward Extremes, we could still do that for some of the fights. When we got to the later ones, I recall that we only got the count, I think we got the count down to 7 on Zorban. But it was simply too hard. Yeah, we managed to get 7 mounts goal. Telema already had one. But we'll probably come back to get some more people some mounts. And some top unlocks, I suppose. But yeah, with Zorban, it reached a point where it was, for some players, the fight itself was too hard. For some people. To just, like, go in and do, like, somewhat casually. So 8 players had trouble. And we did it with 7. We managed with 7, but it was so hard that it was just like, we can't do it with 6. Like, our group wasn't capable, and that's why we kind of, like, got a little bit stuck on Extreme Countdown. You guys pulled top at all? We did not. Maybe we'll do it next time. Like, celebrate being done with farming P8S. But hey, the good news, Nahabrea, is that at least the stream is saved as a VOD, so you didn't miss it. If you want to see it, it'll just not be live. Raylia says, what about AI extremes for dropping rolls, no tanks, DPS, or healer? Technically, we've done some of that already. Because most of the extremes, we would eventually have 0 DPS. Like, for example, with Shiva Extreme, the streams are on the channel. You can, like, watch them back if you want. I think I even made a playlist with them. But with Shiva Extreme, we got down to 1 tank and a healer, and the only reason we didn't clear was because the DPS check was too tight. Like, we actually had 1 go where we made it to the Harden Rage in Phase 2. Ramses says, so what makes people unable to do an extreme in this situation? Is it a matter of skill, gear, both, or something else? In the case of Extreme Countdown, thank you, Ardell, the way that we start them is we do the fight synced with a full team. So if it's not possible there, it's a skill issue, essentially. When it's 7, like, essentially the further the count goes down, the more likely it is actually a mechanical issue. Because, for instance, with Zorvan, the reason why it became impossible to go beyond 7 is because the reason there is essentially what is called a body check that repeats in the Zorvan Extreme fight. And a body check requires essentially everyone's alive to stand in something. But if you're 7, then you will always fail that mechanic. And the punishment of failing that mechanic is just a thing. Like, you basically replace this as a punishment and make it into a predictable rate wide that you just have to survive. And the only way to survive that, I believe, was with a tank limit break, which meant that we would only be able to survive it once, which meant that the DPS check, like essentially the hardened rage, was the second time that mechanic happened, which was too tight for 6 players of the average skill level of the party that we had at hand at that specific time. In a Realm Reborn Extremes, we could actually get it down to, like, we could beat all except Thornmarsh Extreme with 3 players. And then, as Raylia mentioned, we managed to beat Ultimate Weapon Extreme with 2 Gunbreakers. Usually, when the count goes that far down, like 3 players, the limiting factor is either the Hardened Rage is too tight, and Hardened Rage being, of course, at some point the boss just wipes the raid. Like, you have a certain amount of time to finish the fight before the boss gets bored. And if you can't meet that, then it doesn't matter how good you can do the mechanics. You will wipe. Straight up. Whereas other times, it could be a mechanical thing. Like, for instance, Thornmarsh Extreme is actually a pretty good example. Thornmarsh Extreme is, like, a very, very careful fight, but the specific mechanic that makes it so that we can do it with 4, but probably not 3, is that a specific mechanic that will happen is that the Ranger Moogle will go to a corner and, like, basically do, like, hop, 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 and, like, do a call out for a mechanic, and then the Mox Guard will do that. And one of those mechanics causes 3 players that are, I believe, closest to a specific Moogle to be crowd controlled. Like, they just get stunned. And they get stunned for so long that they'll be stuck next to... Yeah, exactly. Hardened Rage is essentially a boss's limit break. They'll be stuck next to a Moogle that will do an attack that will one-shot them. And they're stunned until you do something about it, because they will die before the debuff runs out. The only thing you can do about it is that the stun is removable with a Shuna, which means that you need a healer to do that. You also need 2 tanks, because you have 2 tank Moogles that need to be tanked by 2 different players. So that already means that your team comp needs to be 2 tanks and a healer. And the only way to survive that stun with 3 players would be if there was some way for you to preemptively remove one of the stuns, which you could do with a Bard, because Bard gets Warden's Paean, which removes 1 debuff, or it removes either 1 debuff or the next debuff the player receives if there wasn't any. So the Bard could essentially put that on the healer. Everyone gets stunned, and the healer gets saved, and then the healer can use a Shuna on the Bard and the tank. Problem is, you need 2 tanks. I don't believe a Bard can actually replace a tank in that situation, because you actually need to tank switch something, and a Bard cannot do that. So basically, you can't bring a Bard 3 lives as Warrior gets a skill that removes a few debuffs. Is one of them stun? Warrior doesn't get that until level 70. But technically, yes. The problem is, I don't believe the debuff you get is actually labeled as a stun. It's just technically a stun. You can't move. And you can't act. But a warrior wouldn't have this at level 50. Get level synced and loaded with tenacity. Like, that wouldn't help. Really, are you talking about loading tenacity on a bard? Tenacity affects the amount of physical and magic damage dealt and received, as well as HP restored. The higher the value, the more damage dealt, the more HP restored, and the less damage taken. Only applicable when role is tank. So it wouldn't do anything. And the problem isn't the bard dying. The problem is that to do a tank switch, you need this. You need this. If Bard had provoke, it might be possible, but it doesn't. It's not a damage taken issue, it's a enmity management issue. And there's nothing the Bard can do about it. Anyway, on the one hand, you're right, Ramses. On the other hand, the role exclusive stats wouldn't be interesting for the other roles. I will say tenacity might actually be able to allow people to do some weird shenanigans, but it doesn't actually limit players that much because most players would choose the higher damage stats anyway. So I kind of agree with you, and on the other hand, it's like, once you reach max, like when you reach endgame, you'll realize that if tenacity was available, most players would just go, huh, and not choose it. But it would be interesting if it was an option. Have you flown on the mount yet? I have not. I know, changes to a phoenix. But yeah, to get back to the Thorn March thing, technically, there might be a way to do it with 3 players. As I recall, I think we've talked about this before, but hey, let's go anyway. As I recall, the Ranger Moogle will call one of 3 mechanics. And I don't believe it'll repeat the same mechanic twice in the same phase. And there are like 3 phases of Mog's Guard that you need to deal with. I don't know if you'll skip it if you already did a specific mechanic in a previous wave or phase. But assuming that he can repeat a mechanic in each wave, you could say, then the only way 3 players would be capable of beating Thornmarch Extreme would be if they did the mechanic perfectly. If they did the mechanic perfectly, or rather did the fight perfectly, then there's technically a 1 in 3 chance that they'll get the bad mechanic that will wipe them by stunning everyone and then wiping them, but a 2 in 3 chance that they don't. And then after that, there would be a 1 in 2 chance that they won't get it. Again, assuming that it just doesn't repeat anything. So in each phase, you just need to win this 2 in 3 and this 1 in 2 chance. And you have to do that in 3 phases, essentially. So you have to win 3 1 in 3 chances, and you have to win 3 2 in 3 chances, and 3 1 and 2 chances to maximize the amount of time you have to deal with the fight. And if you fail a single time, back to the start. And this gets even more annoying because in extremes, you have 60 minutes on the duty timer. And you would 100% need full echo to even have a chance of meeting the DPS checks of this fight. Which means that you have to go in and fight Thornmarch Extreme for 3 minutes and then wipe. That is the minimum time required to get echo on a wipe. You need to do that 5 times. So at best, you have 45 minutes. And the fight itself will probably take 10. So in the worst case, you could say, you have time for like 4 pulls, like 4 solid pulls. In the best case, maybe 5. And then you would probably wipe early sometimes. That might give you more pulls. But the idea is more that it's really annoying that you need to use 15 minutes to set up and then you get 45 minutes to even try. And it's entirely down to luck while you play perfectly. And you have to both play perfectly and be lucky at the same time. That's not fun. My estimate also suggests that there's like a 4% chance that the stars align and you get it exactly right. So you'd have to try 1 out of 25 attempts. You would actually be that lucky. Which is a problem when the timer only allows for like 4 or 5 attempts. And that's awesome, Ridley, and congratulations to them. And thank you, Hamsuke. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was the story of why we didn't even bother trying with 3 on Thornmarch Extreme, even though we pretty handily beat it with 4. Because it was just like going from 4 to 3 made it go from really challenging to outright nearly impossible. That's also something that happened with other fights. It's actually pretty interesting. Like, if you'd want to try this on your own, consider that most of the A Realm Reborn extremes, as I said, can be beaten with like 3 or 4 players. Like, you don't have to do it with the bare minimum. You could try with 4 or 5, but the key is that you could just round up a bunch of friends and see if you can do it. And the thing that makes it particularly interesting is that if you do that, you might realize that the mechanics are not as frightening as they look. Like, for instance, on Ifrit, you would have to do it with 2 tanks and a healer because there's a required tank switch. And the tanks can't heal themselves enough, so you need a healer. But that also means that that healer has Searing Wind all the time, and they also get the chain all the time. So you basically just have to accept that you can't be close enough for the chain to not be threatening. You have to be like halfway across the arena just to make sure that they don't get killed by Searing Winds. But learning these things might actually make you feel a lot more confident in higher level extremes, because that might let you know that just because it's an extreme or savage doesn't mean that everything one-shots. There are things you can get away with. Also, hey, Gimme Tokyo, hope you're doing well. That is understandable, by the way. This was hard. I just want to reiterate that it took 3 hours tonight to get 3 mounts, and we still wiped a bunch of times to get 7 mounts. But we also spent like 4.5 hours 2 weeks ago just learning the fight. So it was more like 7.5 hours to get 7 mounts. Alliance raid countdown, getting enough people on duty length might be an issue, but some way of showing off skipped AR mechanics might be fun. I think the more interesting way to do that would just be to do it minimum item level, but again, the problem on my end would be it's actually really hard for me to round up 24 people. There's also the part that for a lot of bosses in Alliance raids, you can sort of napkin math how many players you need. Like, for instance, with Labyrinth of the Ancients, you can, before you even set foot inside, say you need 15 players. Also true, Cat, you need 24 people interested in doing Crystal Tower minimum item level. No echo. Ramses says, something I love about this game is that every class has a way to heal itself. It might only be a little, but it can save a whole pool. Black Mage does not have any self-healing. And technically, Pictomancer only has one incidental heal from its rotation. Summoner has a few of those, but its actual spammable heal physic is basically unuseful. Like, it's unuseful once you get to higher level. Still, interesting point, and the general point that you're making is still true. That some, like, most jobs have something they can do. Like, I make that joke, but all those mages have barriers they can put up to, like, blunt some damage so they can survive a bit longer. So it's not entirely. It was just specifically the healing part was like, well, actually, Black Mage don't. But yeah, something worth considering about old extremes. Black Mage sucks, don't play it. Black Mage is fun, but it's a really bad healer. it's a terrible healer. But yeah, I imagine, as I said, we will probably come back to steal Hephaestus's lunch money some more. And his lunch money looks like this. Before we move on to P8S. But aside from that, I think 7 mounts in one stream is actually decent with the difficulty of this. But I do think this is also a good time to wrap up. So, if you enjoyed this particular stream, it helps me a lot if you leave a like on it here on YouTube. That tells the algorithm this was an enjoyable stream and like other people to enjoy it as well. So thank you so much in advance. And if you'd like to be part of the Discord community server, there's a link in the chat right there. There you will find the weekly schedule where you can see what else is coming up in the coming days on the channel. You'll also find the announcement room with links to videos and streams when I put them out. And if you grab the reminder role in the role assignments room, you'll get a notification whenever I post a video or a stream, as well as an extra one around 15 minutes before stream starts, so you can catch it right when we go live. And if you'd like to support the channel even more directly, you can become a member of the channel, you can gift memberships, you can use the super chat system, or if you don't like any of that, there's also a Ko-Fi link in the chat that Aradil posted right there. It all helps support me and the channel directly so that I can focus on doing stuff like this with all of you. So thank you so much for the support. But that'll be all from me tonight. So good night, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where you are in the world, and I hope to see you all very soon. Bye-bye.